Good evening, everybody. My Atma Pranams to Brahmash Pitamaha Patriji, my dear friends, my dear masters, and my dear gods. Today we are going to continue the second part of our topic, making friends with fear. The importance of today's topic is the practical application of the management of the fear. Last week, I touched upon the general aspects of the fear to understand. And today we are going to deal with how actually we manage fear. I want to make this point because when I created this title for this topic, I was very, very, very careful. There's a reason, particular reason why I made the title of this topic is Making Friends with Fear. The reason is I thought about how to conquer the fear. I thought how to fight the fear. I thought how to how to master the fear. I thought about how to get rid of the fear. I thought all those things, but when I really studied about the fear from various textbooks and after listening to the lectures of my guru, Swami Bodhananda Saraswati, and I was there in his ashram, none of these headings really I found suitable for this. The reason is, it is very difficult to control the fear. It is very difficult to fight with the fear. It is very difficult to conquer the fear. It is very fight to master the fear. I will tell you the reason why not. That's the reason I carefully put this title, Making Friends with the Fear. That is the only way fear can leave us. You fight, they come more upon you. If you conquer, they will try to win over you. You try to get rid of it directly, it will get rid of you. That's what happens. I will tell you why I am talking about what I am talking. One more thing I would like to mention. Fear is the spiritual parameter. Fear is the spiritual scale. Because when to measure your height, how much you grow, a child, how much you are growing, we go to the altimeter to measure your height. If you want to know how much weight you gain, you will go and step on the meter which measures the weight. In the same way, if you want to measure your spiritual growth, if you want to measure your spiritual advancement, if you want to measure your spiritual journey milestone, where are you? How far did you travel in your spiritual journey? One of the parameters, I am not saying only the parameter, I am saying one of the parameters that will tell you how much spiritually you are grown is fear. Less the fear you have, more spiritual growth you have. More fear you have, that is more you need to work on from your spiritual path to advance your spiritual journey. But I want to make this point clear before we proceed further. Today we are going to talk about mainly on the practical aspects of the fear. Day-to-day practical aspects of the fear, how to manage the fear. I am using the word very carefully. How to manage the fear. That's it. how to manage the fear. Because by the time you might have understood by listening to my talks, I always talk about practical spirituality, not a theoretical spirituality. How do we apply the spiritual principles on the day-to-day life as we live with your family, as we live in the community? Because it is more difficult to practice spiritual principles while we live in the community, while we live in the family, rather than practicing spirituality while going to the ashram or going to the forest, because there are less challenges there. But there are more challenges when we live the family life, when we live in the community, there are more challenges that we have to face. While facing these challenges, and if you still are successful in your spiritual journey, you are the real spiritual warrior and you are real spiritual traveler. That's the reason Patriji told no sannyasa. Live only in the family. Live the life of moderation, and you can achieve the self-realization or moksha, whatever it is, the same thing that Patriji achieved. With that particular minimal and brief introduction, I would like to get into the major topic of making friends with fear. Today, I am a medical doctor. I am going to talk something, a medical science of fear. In the first year of our medical school, we talk about anatomy, physiology, and the biochemistry. First year, 18 months, we study that anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry of the human body. Today, I'm going to talk about anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry of the fear. Because we need to understand this, because whenever in the medical science, doctors first has to know the anatomy, physiology, and the biochemistry of the body and the disease. Then he knows, then he will be taught how you treat the disease, how you treat the body, problems of the body. In the same way, if you want to manage your fear, you need to know the anatomy, physiology, and the biochemistry of the fear. Then you can manage the fear very easily. That's the reason I will try to explain the medical science of the fear with, even though there are some scientific terms, I will try to make it as simple as possible for you all to understand it. If you want, you can make a note of it when I say some scientific words, and afterwards you can Google it and you can find the more information, because what I am going to tell is a very brief because of the lack of time. Medical science of fear. In our brain, there are mainly three parts which deals with the fear. There are three parts in our brain which deals with the fear. Number one name is amygdala. A-M-Y-G-D-A-L-A, amygdala. Number two is prefrontal cortex. Number three is hippocampus. These are the three structures in our brain which deals with the fear. When body is experiencing the fear, these three organs come into the picture and manage that fear response. Amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and hippocampus. Amygdala is also called as lizard brain. Amygdala is also called as reptilian brain. Amygdala, A, frontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex is the where in the front your eyebrows are all there, where your pineal gland is there, where your third eye is there. This is where you feel when you meditate extra sensation that I always feel, and I also was also told most of you also feel the same thing when you meditate. This area called the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex. There is something called hippocampus. But to explain you about the fear, I will take three. Fear is an emotion. Fear is an emotion. So, but to make you understand better, I will take another thing, emotion, to explain you how this fear system works, how this amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and hippocampus works in a combination to send a response. First, I would like to take an example of the normal emotion. Next, I will take the example of the fear. Next, I will take the example of the meditation. Then you compare the responses between three, then you will understand how our brain works in different scenarios. First, a normal emotion. As an example, a diabetic who is not supposed to eat any sugar, his blood sugar is high. And he was invited to a party, and a big plate of very, very, very delicious sweets plate was kept inside him, in front of him on the table. He got the cravings to eat those sweets. Craving is an emotion. Fear is an emotion. That's what I am comparing one emotion to the other emotion. So he got the craving to eat the sweet. So an emotion was created in the mind. Then emotion is directly sent from our sense organs, whether it is a fear or an emotion or any other emotion, directly it reaches to the amygdala, because it is the emotion handling center, emotion processing center in our body, in our brain. So directly it goes to the amygdala and it energizes the amygdala. When it energizes amygdala, and what happens, then it will get activated. It becomes active. The amygdala becomes active. Oh, there is an emotion come from the sense organs, and I have to deal with this emotion. When it's a normal emotion, when it is not a fear, it gets activated a little bit. Then the amygdala does not know how to act immediately. So even that he knows how to act immediately as a response, what to tell to this person when he wants to eat, then it will send its signal to the prefrontal cortex. There's a kind of filter. There are holes in the filter between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. It sends the message to the amygdala, to the prefrontal cortex through the holes in the filter, the message that it got from the sense organs. This person wants to eat the sweets and he is diabetic. Immediately prefrontal cortex takes over that message, and the prefrontal cortex get all the information, all the wisdom that it got received, all the wisdom, and process all the pros and cons of the eating the sugar, being a diabetic. It processes, it discusses itself and decide finally whether he should eat sweet or not. Hey, you are a diabetic. Your blood sugar is very high. If you eat your sugar, you will end up with a kidney failure in a short run. Eventually, you will die with the complications of the diabetics. But if you can wait If you can hold on for not, and you can resist not eating, your future will be happy and you will live longer, you are healthy. These are the decisions that are made in the prefrontal cortex. Once the decision is made in the prefrontal cortex, that prefrontal cortex sends that message to the hippocampus. That what the hippocampus does is, the hippocampus does two things. One, it stores that decision that was sent by the prefrontal cortex in its long-term storage, in long-term memory, thinking, because if this person eats the sugar again in the future without without the help of the prefrontal cortex, I can send that I can process this already stored message of not eating sugar. And also the second thing that the hippocampus does is, the message that he received from the prefrontal cortex, that message will be forwarded to the amygdala. And when the amygdala gets the message from the hippocampus, which was nothing but the original decision that was made by prefrontal cortex, when amygdala receives that message, then it sends the message to the tongue or mind, don't eat. Then the person resists eating and successful of withdrawing his senses from eating the sugar. This is the mechanism how the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and hippocampus works together to send a response to the normal emotion. Now let us go what happens in the fear. In the fear, the different kinds of processing takes place between the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and the hippocampus. This is how it happens. In the same way, as soon as the fear comes in our sensory organs, in the same way the emotion was, the eating craving emotion was sent to the amygdala, in the same way the fear emotion was also sent to the amygdala. But when the fear emotion is sent to the amygdala, it is activated very, very high. Immediately it secretes a stress hormone called as cortisol. A stress hormone is secreted by the amygdala. As soon as the stress hormone is secreted in the amygdala, it thinks, oh, there is an immediate threat that is occurred. Then amygdala thinks, oh, there is an immediate threat. So I have to act fast. I don't have time to send this message to the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex processes all this message and make a decision, and it sends it to the hippocampus, and hippocampus tells me the decision. I don't have all this time. I have to act very fast of flight or fight or flight mode. I have to act very fast. So by doing that, it closes the filter that is there between the amygdala and prefrontal cortex. So the message does not, his message is blocked between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Then the prefrontal cortex cannot think anything. It can't make any decisions because the message is blocked through the filter. When the prefrontal cortex does not make any decision, the hippocampus does not get any message from the prefrontal cortex, and the hippocampus cannot send any feedback message to the amygdala. Then amygdala acts on its own without getting any feedback from anywhere, and it acts ready on our will. as a fight or flight mode, and it acts on its own the way that it wants to act in fear. This is the difference between the normal emotion of the craving a food and an emotion of the fear is taking place. Now, when compared to the ancient human being or primitive, the caveman or an animal, amygdala, and now when compared to the modern person, and when we are society is well-developed person, even the society is well-developed, even we have a very, very high security in our lives, still we all live with various kinds of fears. When we live in all various kinds of fears, the constantly that fear emotion is being sent to the amygdala. So the amygdala is constantly is getting the messages of fear, chronic fears from the emotions, from the all the sense organs. Then what happens? The amygdala gets, because to handle all these fears, the amygdala gets activated more and more and more and more. The gray matter, because the material of this amygdala gets bigger, 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 bigger. The amygdala gets bigger. And when there is a constant fear, the amygdala continuously tries to block the messages that goes from amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. So prefrontal cortex usage is getting less and less and less because the messages are being blocked through the filter closure that is not coming from the amygdala. So the prefrontal cortex neural mass is getting low and low and low because it is not using it properly. So when the prefrontal cortex, no messages are not coming to the hippocampus activity is also becoming dull and dull and dull. And only the amygdala is acting on its own as if there is a threat all the time. That's the reason why the normal young generation population, there are a lot of fear in this population. Why they are committing suicides? Why they are all coming to the depression? And so many things. Why they are going a lot of homicides? Husband killing wife and son killing the mother. We are hearing almost every day, day in and day out. The CEO coming, falling from the roof, from the fifth floor. What's going on? Because this is the amygdala. Without the help of the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus acts on its own and making all these things happen because it is responding on its own like a fight or flight mode. This is what exactly is happening in the field. Now I will take the example of the meditation. What I am now going to talk about next 2 or 3 minutes is not the words that are just created by me and making some story and telling it to you. These are the facts of the research. These are the facts of the research of the neurology. This is the facts of the medical science. This is the facts from the neuroscience, the facts I'm going to talk about next 2 or 3 minutes. The research was done on the meditators over the period of time. A continuous meditator after 1 month, after 1 year, after 3 years, after 5 years, what is going on in their brain. They studied. And when they studied, the surprising things they found out, the size of the amygdala is shrinking. The size of the amygdala is shrinking, become less and less and less. the size of the prefrontal cortex is increasing. The activity of the hippocampus is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is what they observed on this amygdala prefrontal cortex of the hippocampus. Why? Because during the meditation, an opposite response to the fear, an opposite message of the fear is fed into the amygdala. So because when it leads to all these emotions of fear and all those things, when the reverse kind of message is sent to the amygdala, it does not activate it that much. So it is shrinking, shrinking, shrinking. Larger amygdala, more fear response and threat response. Smaller amygdala, and less fear response. This happens in the meditators. When there is less and less fear response, the filter between the amygdala and prefrontal is opened, and the prefrontal cortex thinks more, and he gets all the wisdom, the spiritual wisdom from everywhere, and he thinks. And when we meditate, that's why your third eye is open, your pineal body is there, and your chakra here is activated. All this happens in the prefrontal cortex. That is the reason of prefrontal cortex. When the prefrontal cortex is bigger, and it makes this hippocampus is more active and active, the functional level of the hippocampus gets bigger and bigger. That's the reason they observe that meditation does the opposite effect to the fear. This is what the medical science explains the fear response in the brain and the meditation response in the brain, and how meditation helps for the fear. If you can practice the meditation on a regular basis for the period of time. Proceeding further. Now I will explain, using this medical science, how to manage the fear. What are the practical aspects of managing the fear? I am using the word managing. I am not using the word controlling. More control you try to control the fear, the more aggressively it comes. More you fight with the fear, it fights more with you. The only way to manage the fear is, only way is understanding the fear. The only way to manage the fear is to understand the fear. When the fear is there, when you understand the fear starts to flee away and put its first step in the exit door. Fear is like a light. Fear is like a darkness. And understanding wisdom is like a light. If you want to fight the darkness, you cannot fight with the darkness. Whatever you do, darkness will not go away. In the same way as fear. The only way that darkness if you want the darkness to go out, you don't have nothing to do with the darkness. All you have to do is bring the light in. The darkness just goes out. In the same way, if you want to manage the fear, understanding the fear is nothing but bring the wisdom of the fear inside, wisdom of the faith inside, then the fear automatically goes away. But how do you understand this fear? But we can read millions of books on understanding the fear. For the lack of the time, I will just touch upon 2 or 3 points how to understand the fear. What is fear? Fear and the anger are almost the same. I will tell you why. What is anger? The definition to the anger that I give, anger is nothing but expression of unfulfilled desire. Anger is nothing but expression of unfulfilled desire in the past. That means behind every anger, without exception, there is an unfulfilled desire. You get an anger with your child. Why? You want your child, you want your child to behave in such a way. When the child does not behave in that way, that you get angry again at your child. So there is a want behind your anger that was in the past. Somebody did something against what you wanted. There's a past tense, and you got anger. Fear also comes from the desire. But the difference between anger and fear is about future. Anger is about your past. What is the fear is? It is like expression of an expectation of failing to happen your desire. Expression of failing thought of your desire in future. If you don't want to die, that is your desire. But you think that I will die in future. You don't want to die, that is your want. But your fear is nothing but I may die in future. I will die in future. Because what you want will not happen in future. What you don't want, that is also a want. What you don't want also is a want. That may happen in future. You don't want that death to happen, but that is also a want, and that may happen. You want have a job in future, but you may not get a job. There is a fear. So anger is the desire related to the desire in the past, and fear is related to the desire in the future. But if you want to control anger, if you want to control the fear, you want to manage the fear, what's the root cause of the both? It is the desire. So if you want to manage your fear, what you should manage? You should manage your desire. You should manage your desire. So if you can know how to manage your desire, then you can automatically manage your fear. So that means you have to understand your desire. How do you understand your desire? By reading scriptures, by doing swadhyaya, by doing sajjana sangatya, learning the scriptures like this. And this is how you learn about this understanding of the fear. And now, when you understand the desire, if you want to conquer the desire, I always remember one proverb, which is the proverb of my life, and which is the proverb of my family. We always write in wherever we can in our houses. That is, expect the best, prepare for the worst, and take whatever comes in life. Expect the best, prepare for the worst, and take whatever comes in life. If you put this dictum into the practice, that means you are understanding of the fear dawns in. Then fear gets out of your place. Expect the best. So you have a desire and expect that whatever desire you desire will happen. But prepare for the worst also. Because it may not be straight, it may not be good for you. It may be purposefully, it may not happen to you because in the long run it is good for you. So prepare for the worst. And whatever you get as a result, enjoy it in the same way as you enjoy anything else. That's the reason I always talks about Naivedya Buddhi and Prasada Manastattva. Whenever put you Naivedya, you decide what you give to the God. But whenever you take back Prasada, whatever that is given by the priest, you will accept it as a prasada. You don't ask them, I gave laddu, so why don't you give back my laddu? Whatever, you can give whatever you want, but you can only take back whatever that is given by the priest. And this is well explained in our Bhagavad Gita, karmanyeva adhikara haste na phaleshu kadachana. That means do your duty as you are supposed to do. And don't fear, don't worry about the results, and enjoy the result as a prasada, whatever that is given by this universe. This is how you understand the fear, then automatically the fear goes away from you. And here, I would like to explain one story, how the fear, about the fear. I already told you the fear and the faith is like a light and the darkness. When the wisdom comes, fear goes away. The wisdom and fear cannot stay together. They cannot see each other. Faith and fear are opposite. So when the faith comes, fear disappears. When the fear is there, faith does not there. It is like a darkness and the lights. The darkness one day went to a divine court and it complained about the sun. Dear judge, who are you? He says, my name is darkness. What can I do for you? The judge asked. There is a person by name sun who has always been chasing all the time. To escape from him, I am running night and day. He always continuously chases me. I don't have even a time to rest and take a breath for even 1 second. I have to keep on moving as he keeps on coming on me. I never did any harm to him. I don't know why he is doing like this and why he is keep changing me. Please do some justice to me, my Lord. That's what it requests the divine judge. Okay, I will talk to the sun. You can leave for now. Then he called the sun and asked the divine judge, Son, what did that poor darkness do for you? Why are you continuously chasing the darkness? And she is running without taking even a small break. Why don't you leave her alone? Why are you chasing? What did she do to you? Why you are so angry at her? Then the son asked, Mr. Judge, you please bring the darkness in front of me and in front of you. Please keep us both in this court when we argue. I never saw the darkness. I never saw her. I didn't know how does she darkness looks also. and you are blaming me that I am changing the darkness. I don't know how the darkness looks. Then the judge called for the darkness. As long as the sun is there, darkness did not appear in the court. That means the darkness and the lights are opposite. In the same way, the fear and the wisdom are the opposite. Wherever the wisdom is there, their fear cannot stand. The only way to, one of the best way to get rid of the fear is to understand the fear and applying the wisdom by means of reading the scriptures, Swadhyaya, Sajjana Sangatya. And also, one more method can get rid of the fear. One more method, we can manage our fear. I already told you, all the fears, if you keep on questioning, and if you want to put all the fears into the one fear, what that fear would be, that is nothing but fear of death. All the fears, if you want to include all the fears and want to keep only one fear, what that fear would be? That fear would be the fear of death. That means if you can manage the fear of death, you can manage all the fears that are there in your life. So, if you want to manage the fear of death, or if you want to manage for that any fear, the one thing that you have to do is you have to love the solitude. You have to enjoy being aloneness without anybody in your surroundings. You should be enjoying the solitude and aloneness with nobody around you, as if you are a single eagle flying high in the sky with nobody around. You have to sit in such a way in any place where there is nobody, with a feeling, I am the only one that is present in the whole world. There is nobody. You have to sit. You have to sit in the solitude in such a way that there is nobody in the earth. Then you have to remember the song that we sang when we were child, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So you have to imagine that you had a twinkling little star high up in the sky. You are the only star that is shining in the whole sky, as if on the twinkling up above the world sky. Like a diamond in the sky. It is like a twinkling like a diamond in the sky, and you are the only star that is present in the whole sky. With kind of imagination, we have to sit wherever you are, as if there is nobody in this world. That is the first step that you have to do if you want to manage the fear. After you do that, close your eyes, put your hands together, cross your legs, and then invite all the fears that you have to come to your imagination. Detach from the fears. Let those fears come. And just witness those fears. Being separated from those fears, let those fears just pass by one. Be the witness of all the fears that come one after the other. And try to envision, try to witness those fears gradually come on. Experience as if the fears are coming and you are seeing the fears, but you are not with the fears, you are not attaching with fears, that the fears come and just they go. Let it happen for some time. After that time, then all the fears are being witnessed and they come and cross the screen. Then maintain the silence and keep going inside you. Keep going inside you. Then you will reach a place, the center of yourself. The center of yourself. You will reach the place. Then you may say, till now, I am doing meditation. In Telugu, నేను ధ్యానము చేస్తూ ఉన్నాను. There are 4 words in that sentence. I am doing meditation. Am is the word as being in English. If you go to the dictionary, what is the meaning of am? It is being. So when it goes, what is there? And I disappears. Meditation disappears. Doing disappears. Only that remains would be am. In Telugu, nenu disappears. Dhyanamu disappears. Chestu disappears. Only that remains is unnanu. That's it. So you become what you are. Then what is the one that is left from you, the biggest obstruction of your spiritual growth? Your ego. Nenu, me. That the ego disappears. What happens, when the ego disappears, what else disappears? The fear disappears. What is the relation between the ego and the fear? Because the fear is because of the ego. The ego brings the fear. Death happens to me. And disease happens to my body. Old age happens to my body. And my children may go away. And my house may be lost. Like that, the ego goes. When the ego goes, the fear disappears. And that's how the meditation, this kind of fear meditation, helps you to get rid of the fear. And one more thing now. One more technique is thinking of jumping. What's the time? I don't know. Okay, I have 2 more minutes. Okay. I will try to finish it next thing. The next technique is jumping in the technique, jumping in the fear. That is the one more thing, jumping in the fear. In spiritual, in your psychiatrist or psychologist language, this kind of treatment is called as flooding. That means when you fear of something, you analyze that fear and try to jump in, and then fear disappears. For example, the easiest example I can tell you is, when you are afraid of taking a cold water bath, you have a fear of taking a cold water bath because you are fear of the cold water. The only way to get rid of the fear is to jump in the shower and let the cold water flow on your head. Then the fear disappears. And this is the great example of the simple example of the jumping in technique or flooding. Whenever you fear of something, jump into it, then you will come out of the fear. Then I would like to explain a personal story of this is because I used to have 2 kinds of fears 4 or 5 years ago. And still I was growing like 4 or 5 years ago, and with my guru at the time. And I had 2 kinds of fears. One fear is flying, flight. The second fear is staying alone in the night on my own. These are the 2 kinds of fears I used to have around 4 or 5 years ago. Since my childhood I had it, but I tried to overcome it, but I was not successful completely. Then in 4 years back, I moved from Michigan to Dallas. But I had a small medical business in Detroit, in Detroit area. And after I moved here, my medical business in Detroit area went up. Then I thought I have to work for 4 more years for me to retire comfortably. Then I thought of working for 4 more years. But I was very comfortable in Dallas, being in Dallas, and I wanted to improve my business and I want to do my business there. And for that to do, I have to overcome 2 fears because I have to fly every week from here to Detroit on the flight, which I hate, which I have very fearful. Next, I have to there 2 days, I have to stay there in a hotel overnight on my own, which was another kind of fear that I had. And 4 years ago, I thought about myself and I convinced about myself, let me see what happens if I fly every week. Let me see what happens if I stay on my own without any fear. I successfully got over that fear by jumping into the fear, by flying every week, almost like a 50, 60 weeks, 50 trips, almost more than 100 trips a year every week, with now no fear of flying anymore. And staying almost every week on my own, now no fear of staying alone in a room or anything, and I enjoy my solitude and doing meditation in my room, in my hotel, there. And the last 2 techniques I want to touch upon. If you want to fear, that means you are very self-conscious. If you want to fearlessness, you have to have a self-awareness. Self-conscious mode make you fearful. Self-conscious means always thinking about your ego and your selfishness, and you think about what happens to me, what happens to me. If you have that kind of self-consciousness, that causes the fear. If you want to come out of the fear is you have to aware the self-awareness you have to develop. That is a kind of a meditation. And if you want to be cautious, that means you are watching on your surroundings, you are the cautious, that means you are fearful. If you want to come out of that fear of the cautiousness, you want to convert that cautious nature into the consciousness nature. The consciousness makes you fearless. The cautious nature makes you fearful. These are some of the ways that I found out that helped me to manage my fears, what I have been having in my life. And if you also practice the same way, you can also manage your fears successfully and then grow on your spiritual path and advance your spiritual development. And then finally, all of us can reach where we have to reach finally. And where Patrija reached, we can also reach in the same place where Patrija. Thank you very much. Now, sorry if I took a little bit long, and I am open to any questions. Thank you.